Hi guys, since parting ways with Nigel Farage's Reform UK, Rupert Lowe has set up his own party, movement, organisation, I'm not sure what it is, in order to fill a gap in the market to the right of reform. Now, he's engaging here in rhetoric that I haven't heard in 20 odd years, a type of language usually used by the BNP. Now, of course, he didn't receive any pushback from Mike Graham, the concrete farmer, but I will instead.
Let's talk to Rupert Lowe now, MP and leader of Restore Britain. Rupert, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Haven't been on your show for a while.
I know. I'm glad to see you back. Thank you. I don't know what's going on in this country, but there's a sort of obviously a two-tier system going on. We've got the government who don't want to talk about what the real problems are, and they'd rather sort of immerse themselves in some international, rescue scenario. People demonstrating against migrants in this country are the ordinary, solid backbone of this country, and he's just ignoring them, isn't he?
Well, I think we can all, Mike, feel our country slowly slipping through our fingers. I don't think one needs to be a rocket scientist to see that. And it's almost as if the sort of reverse Darwinian agenda, which we've all had to suffer over the last, really since Tony Blair, largely, it's hollowed out the country. I mean, we are seeing increasing numbers of people coming here illegally. Illegal means illegal, by the way.
Right.
And equally, I think a lot of them have very low IQ. I think in the past, a lot of our immigration, whether it was the prosecution of the Protestants or the prosecution of the Jews in Europe, they used to come here, they added a lot to our culture and our skill set. That's not what's happening now. And I think we're all being told that we should be ashamed of our history, we should be ashamed of our empire, we should be ashamed of all the things that the past generations of this country have done for the world. And it's almost as if the establishment now knows, I think, that its post-war agenda of mass sort of immigration, multiculturalism, which they see as the sort of the nirvana, is failing. So they've almost got to jump down on us and shame us into shrugging our shoulders and disappearing.
Okay. So first of all, this idea that the country is slipping through our fingers, what the heck does that mean? And second, of course, this idea that the elites are telling people they should be ashamed of their history and they should be ashamed of their country. Who is saying this? Honestly, this is an honest question. Who is saying that people should be ashamed of their country and ashamed of their history? I've yet to hear anyone on the far left ever say something like this. This is a straw man. What he's trying to do is he's trying to create this narrative that the elites in London or in Westminster, in the media, Keir Starmer, whoever, is telling people they should be ashamed of their history and ashamed of their country. And only someone like Rupert Lowe or Reform or someone on the far right will stand up and say, no, you should be proud of your nation. You should be proud of your history. It is absolute tripe. No evidence whatsoever. But it's a narrative that filters down into the minds of the public, especially if it goes unchallenged, like it does on Talk TV. If it goes unchallenged, people believe it. They believe, Rupert Lowe must be telling the truth. People are ashamed to be proud of their country. People are ashamed to be proud of their history. They're being told to be ashamed by somebody. We never hear who these people are. He never says, this individual is telling you to be ashamed. No, because he has no evidence. It's just a narrative. Now, the other point, the main point here, he's telling the public also, the immigrants that are coming in are all low IQ or pretty much low IQ. Okay, I don't know what his barometer for IQ is because there are different measures of IQ. I would prefer to go with education level. Now, if he's talking about immigration in general, he's not specifying small boats. He's talking about immigration in general. But immigration in general makes up over 90% of all immigration. When we're talking about immigration in the sense of people coming in via visas or whatever, we're not talking about small boats here. So the majority of immigration is so-called legal immigration. And I leave a link to all the sources I'm using here, but 44% of foreign-born adults in the UK have higher education qualifications, 44% compared to 31% of UK-born residents. So the immigrants generally are higher educated than the native population. Also, immigrants who leave their country are generally higher educated than the people they leave behind. There's a breakdown of different countries. For example, Nigeria, it's 67%. In South Africa, it's almost 54%. And in India, it's about 50%. So we're talking about people who are higher educated than their native population and higher educated than the population in Britain. And Rupert Lowe is talking about low IQs. Now, there's a reason why you have a higher educated people going to Britain or going to Europe, because in their native countries, generally it's the more educated people that emigrate. We've seen it before. There are few opportunities in their home countries. They're highly educated. They move abroad. Some move abroad to gain skills and education levels abroad. For example, many people come to Britain to study. Many people come to Britain to work, to build up their careers. So we're talking about people who are naturally more educated than the native population at home moving to Britain for a whole range of reasons. And also, it's important to remember there's a visa requirement. So if you want to study or if you want to work in Britain, you have to meet visa criteria. And in many cases, it involves education. So you're automatically filtering out so-called low IQ people through a visa system. And we know that when it comes to people who are seeking asylum, in many cases, they're more highly educated than the native population. So when it comes to the asylum seekers, they're generally more highly educated. Does that mean that all of them are? No, of course not. But generally they are. And then when we're talking about so-called legal immigrants, they are mostly the highly educated that leave the country to find better opportunities abroad. So what the heck is Rupert Lowe talking about? And of course, he's not going to receive any pushback from Mike Graham, the concrete farmer, because he's in agreement with him. But this is a very dangerous narrative. As I said, this is the type of rhetoric we haven't heard since the time of the BNP. The idea that Britain is being flooded by low IQ people who are going to be a burden on the state. They're going to be living off benefits. They're going to outpopulate the native population. This is the type of rhetoric that we heard in the past. It sort of went away for a while, but it now seems to be back with a vengeance. And it's been pushed by the likes of Reform. It's been pushed by Rupert Lowe further to the right of Reform. And unfortunately, if you don't have a media that's going to push back on it, it will filter down to the average person. And people who are not on the far right, people who are not already engaging in this type of rhetoric, will be susceptible as well. Because if it's unchallenged, they will regurgitate it as well. And then it becomes mainstream. Then you start to hear politicians on the center, politicians on the left, people in the media talking more about this. It has to be challenged. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.